All right. So, welcome, Radio 3 students, and welcome to your second semester. From myself, Wayne, and Rory, we wish you good luck and obviously Grant sends his regards as well for quite a very difficult and um, I say that as if semester one was not difficult. It was difficult, but we're going to get right into the practicals right now, and you're going to go live on air, which you should be super excited about. And so we're all rooting for you, as we always do. And we're expecting some stars to rise to the occasion and show some really great radio as you go to BMH Radio Live. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to obviously we've briefed you in class about the F3 and we've got a couple of lessons that we still need to get through. This one in particular is about talent management and snoop sessions, which is going to happen literally every week until I think about the seventh week from the 1st of August, and we're going to be snooping. Then individually afterwards, getting ready for the S1. So don't worry about that right now. We'll explain that as we get there. Right now, let's choose to think and focus on how we can be much better presenters and be immaculate at that at the same time. Okay, great. So I'm just going to quickly share the screen over here. Just give me a sec. Here we go. Hope you can see that. Here we go. Here you go. Okay, and uh, let's uh, let's get into our lesson. So again, we're managing talent. It says the H Radio BABJs. It's also for the Radio threes, which are my students as well as Wayne's. So let's chat about this. Always, I mean, in this. I say in this particular video, I would constantly go back and refer to it, even if we have covered it in class or you have watched it once. I would go back as growth is all about this exact thing here that we are going to apply in our F3s and live in studio. Okay. All right. So let me just make sure that I can move on. All right. And I'm gonna it's just sit back and relax and make some notes. Always make notes. Get your so this comes out of the next level. And this is well, I think chapter eight. I didn't write that down, but I think it's chapter eight. It is literally called managing talent or talent management, and we take it up from there. But we also look at essences from Valerie Geller. I also got some stuff from the net, and let's just get started. Okay, all right. So when we look at finding talent, and this is the thing, like you've got to start understanding, and as I've said to my kids, that it's not just because you've done radio in respect of whether you are on air on BMH radio or you've even done community radio or you've studied media studies and majored in radio, like it doesn't mean that you are guaranteed at all a spot on radio. So there is no sense, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I think it's absolutely fortunate that entitlement is not a way that this industry, and I'm sure any other industry, goes, but definitely not here. We are saturated, as I said before, many times and over many years to many different types of students that have come through. We are a saturated industry, and so that means that we literally have a finite amount of spaces available for great talents. Okay, so when we scout for talents, we really look at genuine individuals. All right, so genuine individuals. I'm not going to sit and explain every single point, and because I think it's quite clear, but genuine individuals that really stand out in a crowd. Okay, and so everyone you've met in terms of like your lecturers have told you this and said, well, they've given you their journey. Everyone's journey is different. You can't emulate any one of ours or anyone else's journey that you feel like you are a fan of, or you've like kind of I say witnessed them, you've I was going to say stalked them in a healthy way, but throughout their careers. We always respect great talents and great individuals on air, and those that have been, and those that are, and of course, we hope again those that will be. But we really want people that stand out. If you feel like you are not there, what you want to ask yourself, oh, what is it that I'm not doing to stand out? Fantastic storytellers. Again, that has obviously been covered over the years. It's time to apply yourself with that, beautifully articulate. So what that means is you've got to have a great sense and command over the language that you're going to broadcast in, right? But it's one thing to be able to kind of speak properly, right? It's about being able to speak articulately and eloquently in a way that again doesn't seem that you are giving, I mean, like you're talking down to people. Remember, talk to people. Right, okay, we have a natural and great sense of humor, right? So that doesn't mean you have to be a comedian in any sort, like any signature of that particular label, but you do have to be a human being that actually finds things funny and also can be a witty and funny person. I mean, all of us have it in us, right? Good listeners. So I briefly just want to obviously just touch on that. Good listeners doesn't mean like you listen and then just for a moment to talk. You know, you're waiting for your moment to talk. That's not the definition of a good listener. A good listener actually sits and processes and respects the person that they are listening to, so that they can contribute well into conversation. Okay, original thinkers. You need to be intelligent and again, when we say intelligent, I mean you must understand that the majority of the world are intelligent human beings, right? Unless you have a particular disability with obviously the way that your mind processes things, you are an intelligent human being, okay? But to be intelligible is also got to do with like your cues and the things that the ways that you look at the world around you, the way that you process engagements with human beings, and that makes you intelligible and actually knowledgeable, passionate about people. So, I mean, I always say this, like I'm not really a big fan, I say, of uh, people just because, not because I don't like people. It's just I don't necessarily need to be around people to enjoy for moments to say, but the thing is that you got to really be passionate. I am passionate about people. I'm passionate about how we are as a species and exactly what it is that makes each one of us, should I say, take love to connect with others, right? And that doesn't mean you have to be an extrovert. Can you just sit down? Can you sit down and immediately connect to somebody else because you are humble and you are at a common level, like, find a common ground type of thing. Curious and never stop wondering. We need creatives, right? People that actually like are not given things like, let's suppose you read, let's say, a news article or someone tells you about something, you'll be like, oh, okay, I've made up my mind. I mean, I'm gonna go for that. I'm like, whatever, and the rest is no. Like that is an ignorant human being, and we like certainly do not want people that are voices for the population or a population or a community to be ignorant in any kind of way. Formally educated, or you need to have ample life experience, right? So there's a lot of us in the industry that, like myself, I did not study radio. I got really blessed in terms of being able to join community radio, community campus radio, and I've learned. I've got work experience, for now 22 years. So so there is one way of going through it, but you are lucky enough to have, something that I sound like a dad or an old person, but we did not have that in our time. We did not have, I say, assessed or accredited media qualifications, especially ones that majored in radio. Definitely not. It wasn't a thing. We just kind of lived in a life where you hear someone on radio and you don't actually think further than that. When you come across the opportunity, you're like, okay, I get this as it's not something just fun to do. It really is a job and a passion. So we need either one or the other, or and both, right? Love to learn and share new ideas and ways of thinking about the world. I've explained that already. Trendsetters, not as though, please don't hashtag trend. Okay, don't hashtag trend. You don't have to do that. The thing is that you got to lead the way, and for me, it's a belief in thinking and the way that you want to be able to enrich and empower people so that they can go and do and say and think whatever they need to do to improve their life. So in that way, you want to be able to be a pioneer of lifestyle. You understand? Want to be seen and you want to be heard. If you're shy, that's cool. But can't, if you're shy in the way that I can't say things in front of people, or I don't know. I mean, I didn't even know why you're like listening or watching this particular stream. Anyway, okay. We spoke about this. I'm gonna just mute myself here so I don't block any of the information. Cool. So about the X Factor. The X Factor was introduced to you in your second year, I'm sure, or in your first. It doesn't really matter. We talk about it all the time. The definition of it here it is like it's nothing you can feel, you can't touch or feel an X Factor. It's just that thing that makes an individual stand out, right? And everybody that has managed to get a spot in radio has had some form of an X Factor, and that definitely has to do with how unique and how that uniqueness makes you stand out, right? How you use everything that makes you a talent. So all the hard and soft skills, but then you couple that up with the intangibles, so the stuff that we cannot touch, right? Parts of you that put together this great stand out, product, and that's an X factor. I always say this. You're so tired. If you one of my students, you're so tired of this particular anecdotal reference, but I really always use. I mean, I can use many people. Like we have so many celebrities, and around the world in many different industries, from sports to, I mean, even like in corporate industries. To innovators, radio personalities. It doesn't matter. Okay, musicians, but I use Naomi Campbell particularly in showing what an X factor is because it's so intangible with Naomi Campbell, because she's a supermodel, super because of pay. Sidebar, just so that's what actually makes you a supermodel, and not just a model. But the thing is that Naomi Campbell, I mean, like I think she's in her late 50s or whatever it is, or mid late 50s, and she is still, I mean, she's the main attraction. She's what closes off like runways, and it's people say, oh, but it's because it's Naomi Campbell. What made her Naomi Campbell? Because if you think of it just on terms of like, in terms of a one-dimensional point of view, be like, okay, well, like, is there not thousands and thousands of models, or aren't there thousands of models that do exactly the same thing? They can model fine, right? They can show up a dress. They can, you know, like when you put your hands behind, you kind of roll it out. That, like there's a lot that do exactly what she does, but they don't. You know, the X factor. It's what really just it's what you can't touch, feel, smell, or taste, but it's there. Do you have it? Right. We can do this, like I said, it's in different jobs, performance and sales. Indeed, any role. It's a function of both capabilities and the way that you use your environment. So I like this. The implication, every role has a definite set of X factor capabilities that drive high performance, right? So there's an example of athletes and salespeople once again, just to show you that it's not an entertainment thing as well. It's a professional thing. It's a professional thing. So where I mean, well, I mean, those of you that are watching that work, whatever it is, that there's a person in your office, or maybe you work in retail, whatever it may be, and they stand up. Maybe your mom or dad, or sister or brother, whatever it is that working in an industry, have this X factor. Oh man, they're just so magnetic, and they're just so great at what they do. That's what it is. Okay. And once again, if you don't have that, you can't learn that. I'm sorry, not sorry to tell you, but you can't learn that. You got to have it, and you got to nourish that. Okay. Um, because again, there's no entitlement just because you do things like you have a certificate, or you have a accreditation or diploma, whatever it is, in any industry. Can you actually do it better than anybody else? Okay. So anyway, so this is something that I found off the net, where a, a lot of a lot of companies, a lot of industries actually try to score the X factor, all right, through competencies. And I want to give you some just some read of examples. Like, for example, they're using creativity, personal communication, motivating others, solving problems, coping with pressure, displaying integrity, managing resources, sharing knowledge. Like, this is all. It's an all package, man. It's all for you. It's great. And these things together, you understand. Um, kind of should give you a good indication. Look at yourself and say, "Cool." I mean, if I had to score myself, you understand. Even assume that maybe some of your friends or your lecturer might be able to score you on this. How well would you actually do? Um, and you have to be super aware of that. And why do you have to be super aware? Because we are in the medium, or we are in media slash finished, actually slash finished period done, which means that you have to be liked, okay? And that means you got to score correctly in high numbers in whatever aspects that make you who you are as a personality and a professional, okay? So if we look at your textbook, there's the ACE approach to nurturing talent. So we're obviously doing management in radio. And that's what we want to obviously focus on as well. But you'll understand that from our side and from your side, kind of works both ways. Well, I've got to experience snooping and I've got to experience growth as a, let's say, presenter or someone or producer or whatever it may be, newsreader, it doesn't matter, right? But we're talking about presenters here particularly and personalities. Um, you can't, it's kind of, you've got to understand it from both ways, so let's look at the ACE approach. Appreciate, your talent, whether the statement is right or wrong, because like no one ever knows everything at the same time. So I can't really say that, South Africa, and as well as the management that we have, our station managers, our program managers actually are great or they are not great. There are some that really, really have, just a knack for being a great leader that tick all these boxes off. And then there are some that just don't. So we want to teach, obviously, the right way to do this because it will obviously yield the best results. All right. Cool. So appreciate your talent. Okay. Coach them. That's your job. Your management, as management, yes, you have a lot of administrative stuff, so corporate stuff and business stuff that you have to obviously do. But part of your job is to like nourish and coach your talent because that's where they look. They're like, okay, so you want me to do better in, or you saying this is great, tell me why, you know? And you need to evaluate them because they really need to know like what exactly it is that you are saying when you're saying that wasn't a great show, or that, I love that interview. Well done, why? That's not always a thing. It's nice to get a compliment, but it doesn't mean anything if you don't actually know the details of why your hard skills or your soft skills succeeded. Cool. So these can be achieved by doing, for example, like just as easily as being personable. You're going to hear that often throughout, um, this particular segment of our learning. Be personable, which means that you've got to be a human being, right? That people can approach and personalities feel like you can deal with them in a very unique way. Why do we get a special treatment, as opposed to where in corporate you don't have to deal actually with your employees in a unique way. You can actually like just kind of like black and white, cold-ish, compared to what we do. But the thing is that because the personality grows based on who they are actually, and then we bring along the hard and soft skills that are, packaged together. That's why we need to be uniquely dealt with or managed in a certain way that is very different to the presenter that sits next to me. Okay, support growth and exposure to varied skills and opportunities. And presenters must be given goals and objectives. All right. So when we do snoop, and we're going to talk about that now, I don't want to carry on too much here because it is a little bit, obviously, it's explained in the lecture. Um, when we do snoops, it's, all of us, we crit you, we crit you, and we crit you hard in the sense that it's just the truth. We're not, there's I mean, I'm not even. Why would I even I don't know, like say the word. Oh, we're not going to coddle you, or we don't want to try and be mean. That makes no sense. Like for the fact that this is a live medium, and this is really why we are drop dead honest. Okay, and that's it. Is because we don't need you being confused about what it is that you have to or you have to do or you haven't done correctly. So we need to be very clear. If you are in a Snoop session with any of your lecturers, for example, throughout this process, and we say something that seems to be vague, because I mean, we are what we are. I know we might think at certain points throughout this that you understand what we say, but I'm sure we will give you very clear examples. If ask, say, because your manager is also not someone that must, now remembers and be is a be all and end all, whatever it is. Ask questions and be someone that claims responsibility for their own growth as well. Okay, so how do we get to let's go back there? It's sore. Anyway, the road to great talent management. Well, there is this, there is one of the things that I want to say. There's always we always start a sentence by oh nothing's worse than nothing's worse than one of the nothing's worse than is a manager you never see because the thing is that I get that so no news is good news, but that's also that's not the case for in radio because you have to see you can't be doing shows every day, for example, every week. Even I think that the weekend presenters and specialty presenters have it a little bit more difficult, a little bit harder than the weekday presenters because of the fact that they literally do not see anyone as they come into obviously the station and they do their shows. They come in, they go out, whatever it may be. So with everybody, you got to touch base. You got to touch base, and you got to touch base in a regular way that it becomes habit. So everyone, it's very important to not make people feel they got to know that they are important because they were chosen from whatever a mass amount of applications and a mass amount of people that thought that they would get the job. They didn't. This person got it, so treat them right. um I use constructive criticism that provides a way forward. It involves yourself in the process, and that is really cool because also, like, it, we've obviously seen this and we'll keep seeing this as well. Because people are people, and the way things are the way things that, the way things might always be in certain aspects. But you know, there's, for a manager to come to you and be like months or whatever it is, like they're blank and they're not a presence in your growth, whatever it is, um, or they're not involved in your growth process, and just suddenly it says, "Oh well, you know what? Hey, you've been doing a terrible job." Like, but it's been like enough time, weeks, or it's been months, or whatever it is, since you've said anything to me. So I'm assuming that everything, no news, good news, right? Nothing is wrong, and that's not that's and maybe you lose your job. So it happens so often in the South African radio sector, as we all know that it is there's hardly no like stable fluidity within our industry. But it really comes down to this whole thing where again it's that it's regular interaction. There's a bit of a habit that is achieved or um, within the relationship, and people understand each other. Again, clear expectations, listen to and take interest in their ideas, because that's why they are creative. So, and we are put on the show because they expect us, our managers expect us to be the perfect fit for that show. So we get to know the listeners, we get to know exactly what they want at that time of day. In terms of, I mean, we know a lot of stats from the BRC Rams. We interact with them on social media, whatever it may be, and so we should know that show better than anyone else, right? So our ideas do have a lot of merit, okay, and so you want to listen to your presenters and your team. Facilitate discussions in a safe environment. In other words, like don't make them feel as though No, like they're. I'm going to have an honest conversation with my honest business conversation. So wherever personal has to affect your business or professional life, then you may have a discussion without feeling as though there's going to be some kind of repercussion. Just because you saying what is on your mind, what is happening, like kind of clear, black and white, the truth, in other words, right? So you want to make them feel as though, okay, cool, like I can go in and close the door and have like a safe environment to communicate what I need to with our manager. So customize, like I said, the criticism and the guidance for each presenter explained already. Maintain a humble, approachable presence. Great coaches praise their talent when they perform well, and they will share the blame appropriately in context when the presenter falls. Because when it's viable, it's because the manager was absent, or they were absent in terms of like just absent literally or absent in communication, and so there's obviously going to be some kind of fall or failure. um, but also we can't just put the blame on managers all the time, because there are many situations when we have presenters that go rogue, and we will chat about that as well. Anyway, credit should always be given in private. Don't ever, like any manager should always know. Like, I mean, you don't, why on earth are you going to now say belittle, or this is private information, man. Like, it is private information. It involves me as a presenter, or it will involve with you as a manager, or you and me, right? Whatever it might be, vice versa. Don't do that. It really kills the spirit. I mean, like, it makes you a horrible human being. So, like, right. Let's move it. Okay, snooping and edge checking. So that is as I said. So we're now moving into why you understand the interaction needs to be the way it is to be able to snoop and edge check correctly. So snooping, as you know, is us just listening to segments of a show or the whole show, right? So you won't sit. I've never experienced it at any radio station that I've worked. No one is going to sit the whole show with you. Normally, what they do as program or station managers is they should, or they do randomly um, just switch on like the radio, just and just start listening. And it could be a generic link, it could be an admin link, they could listen for a little while longer, it could be the middle of an interview, it could be while you're trying to do a promotion or a competition. It doesn't matter. The thing is that why we do that is not to try and like trick you, but the thing is that any listener will tune in at any one time. So every single link or every single segment of that show needs to be good. So this is why snooping is done in the same manner, right? Air checking, exactly that. So we sit down, we provide you with a mission. We say to you, I mean, this is what we need you to do. You understand? Show talent what success actually looks like, without saying, I mean, for me, uh, and this has happened, and this doesn't work for me. Like, is when you sit and like a manager will sit and compare you to another show. That doesn't make any sense for me, because they'll always say, "Oh, yeah, let's look at this show, but don't do what they're going to do," because obviously, like, you got to be own your own unique. Presence or product, whatever it may be. But they often, they more often than not, will sit there and say, "Oh, but like, look here, like, look at this. Look at how we're using this as an example to, I don't know, kind of explain the mechanism in the way that obviously the rollout has happened." No, thank you. Let's kind of define success as success. Like, I'm here, you're showing me where I would be here in terms of success and growth. So point at the goal and then get out of the way. So in other words, don't be I think it's called seagull management. So why we call it that is seagulls will come in, in shore, on shore, whatever it is, to basically do their number twos, and then move over back to the sea and go do their business. And so you really don't want a manager who constantly comes in, basically, does a number two and then keeps moving back, forth, back, forth, back, forth, micromanaging, micromanaging. Oh my word. It build over, it's a slow burn. If it happens constantly, whether it's daily, whether it's bi-daily or whatever it is, I don't really know. It's just, you got to get out the way and see whether the talent have actually listened to your constructive criticism. Maintain honesty when hiring talent, dealing with talent daily and giving feedback. Keep it talent, I say talent focused. So, um, we don't want to, for me personally, and it kind of obviously immediately links into this. Uh, it's it when we snoop, we want to be able to focus on, let's say, one, two, three things that you need to go and achieve in the next show before, or the shows, whatever it may be, before we crit you again, right? Instead of giving you 10 things that you have to go and work on, let's try three things that you have to conquer, and so they're not a problem ever again. You understand? And then we will. I mean, the other problems are causing. I mean, problems are problems now. When they're going to cause, obviously, like it's cause and effect. So we will try and minimize opportunity for these particular cause and effect, the rest of them that are hanging, to actually happen by maybe reducing maybe a certain number of links, maybe reducing content that shouldn't go on air just yet while you're conquering particular execution mistakes, whatever it may be, right? Technical errors need to be done immediately. For example, focus more on than anything else. We'll pull it back and have you grow one bit at a time, right? Okay. I always say this. So, if you focus on 10 things, it's going to take you 10 times as long to finish it. So rather focus on a lot less. All right. Choose people who share a vision for their show and growth. So that's as a manager. So reward first time failures to encourage trying new things. So when we say that, we don't, again, don't look at it literally and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go fail miserably because it's any old failure. No, 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 no. This is about how I've stepped beyond my comfort zone and I tried something new, because the only way you can practice as much as you want to, you can prep as much as you want to. Nothing will get you as close as doing it live on air. So again, this is about us trying to just like grow further out of our comfort zone. And in that way, a manager should encourage those types of constructive failures. Expect mistakes and expect complaints. And that's from, I would say that's from listeners. Nourish talent with advice when necessary. Cool. All right, so just some things, and it's gonna there's a bit of repetition. So where there is repetition, I will again um, I'll just mention it and then move on. So again, we've spoken about that safe space a little bit earlier. Apply bigger picture thinking. This is really important for you to understand that as a presenter, presenters need to live the brand first. I mean, they are no islands of information or rogue, I say Ronins, right? So what is a Ronin? They're summarized that have no like sensei, let's say Ninja Turtles. I know a lot about ninja stuff. Anyways, there we go. Like a Ronin is that we don't want someone that feels as though they have no master in a way. Again, a sensei is actually a better word because master sounds like you're a slave. But you want to be able to live within the brand, and it doesn't make you like more of a sheep. It's not about being a sheep and you can't be recognizable. You want to understand that as you live the brand within your own power to be a unique and again, like we say, entertaining and really a valuable contribution to the brand. Like that is how we want you to do. Be bigger picture thinking. I think a bigger picture thinker. Okay. Always encourage. So as a as a manager, we want to be able to encourage creativity. A lot of ways you can actually just do this for yourself. Like you know, I've got pretty much in every room I've got in front of me. Like my place is just always a mess. It doesn't matter, but I stick like notepads on the wall. I have them in every room. Kind of started out predominantly because when I had my stroke, I couldn't remember anything. So wherever I was, I would write. There was this pen there, it was a notepad, and I would write things down. Right, but this kind of habit really is good. I would always carry, even as a student and even as a commercial jock, I would carry always like a little like a book that you can write stuff in. And the thing is that it's not that you're going to write stuff every single day, but when you have creative spurts, then go and write down as much as you can, bad ideas too, and then later you will go and ice out and filter what the really good ones are. And then you'll go and obviously conceptualize them and construct them further. So that's really cool, to get into that habit and then it's going to make you a super great and creative presenter. Okay, so let's get some other things. Yeah, all right. Read as much as you can, please. Okay. Obviously, again, that makes you intelligible, knowledgeable. Look up terms and concepts, and also, like, well, every one of us do not know how to pronounce many, 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 many different names, many different words. You can always go on YouTube. Always YouTube, like how to pronounce a name, how to pronounce a city, how to pronounce a term or a concept. It doesn't really matter, right? Like, because YouTube will have the proper pronunciation within a certain language or accent or whatever it may be that you need to do it. Okay, and have an ordering system and a timetable for your rollout. So by that I mean, so let's say you have come across a great interview, but the interview should actually, and it fits like contextually better in let's say 7 shows time, whatever. Let's say so you're doing a daily show, so not now, maybe next week is better, and you want to kind of roll it out there. Do it now. That's what a great content creator does, and a great presenter is they're always on the lookout for great content, right? So don't think what can I do today only. You must always think, you must be like, oh, this is great. I mean, maybe I like a festival and like, damn, man, there's some great people here. I know I can actually fit that into a different type of call out, or maybe I can use it in an interview. Or you know what? Even maybe you could share it with a colleague of yours that has a suitable show that it would fit. So maybe like someone that's doing like a top 40, and you want to go and you simply run across a certain musician, and you think, well, you know what, this fit great there. I'm going to do this for them. I'll make the station better. Live the brand first, eh? Cool. Coach rather than correct. So when we are snooping, and again, we want to be able to praise you only when you do something right. Because again, it's other words, it's um it's like giving compliments. Praise compliments, but I'm saying in everyday life, don't be the person who always comes in. Let's say you have a receptionist, come into the office, whatever it is, and always say, "Oh, you look so great today." But oh, you're looking beautiful as usual, blah blah blah. That is most annoying. It's very annoying because like that's not true. Like if you if you if you if this particular receptionist does not look great on a certain day, right? And you go ahead and you lie basically just because when you really want to give a compliment, or in a sense, it will hit and so you will whatever it is shoot and miss. You understand? So so that's when it becomes authentic, and that's when people believe you because in our case, we will give you negative criticism, right? So you believe exactly what we say, and when we respond with praise, you'll know exactly why you earned it. Okay. So remember that each presenter will learn at their own pace. That doesn't mean you have your entire lifetime to sit there and say, oh well, I work at like a fraction of the pace that another presenter, works at. But we have variant moments that or levels of growth, and we got to understand that if we've got professionals there, we're working, let's say, at like the commercial station community, it doesn't matter anyway. Like we're gonna have people that know more what they're doing and have different obstacles to pass or conquer. than certain other ones. So as a manager, like we got to understand that and attend to that. Demand time and attention. Good coaches respond to, or good coaching managers by managers respond to simple, um, you know, uh, give simple commands so that their presenters or their team can respond to them, right? So not to just make it so complicated in terms of like, oh, but this and that and this and that and and that, and the presenter leaves that snoop going like, I mean, there were a lot of things that were said, but like exactly what is that I have to do? Okay. Right. Know that your presenters will make mistakes. They need boundaries. They have natural skills and weaknesses that we must focus on. Well, I mean, your skills and your strengths will always. I mean, if you work hard at them and focus on them, they just drown out the weaknesses. You can't eradicate a weakness. It's always going to be there. It's part of who you are. But you can drown out a weakness by focusing on your strengths. So your presenter's strengths. You can teach an old dog new tricks with a lot of difficulty, right? So like kind of also understand that when we are trying to change maybe a mindset, okay, that is also not our job. Like that is the presenter's job. So if they are stuck in a mindset, they need to be told exactly where they're at and why it's destructive and why they need to deal with it quickly because it's something that we can't do for them. So, leashed until trained. That's obvious. Like we don't want to have anyone that doesn't know what they're doing on air. Love to listen back to their own show. So that's really cool. I mean, like I always assume that people just want to do that just because I know that I doesn't matter whether I'm doing a podcast, whether I do the show, whether I've got interviews, whatever. I love listening back. And also, over years, the thing is that you'll only listen to great things, So even when you are recording and you are doing a show, whatever it is, like you will have this plethora of banking, of great, great, great on-air moments or broadcasting moments. But the biggest thing is to be able to, you see, you have to also self-manage yourself. So sit there and know that okay, today I did a show. I'm gonna take the recording home. I'm gonna go listen to myself. I'm gonna note out exactly all the things that if I don't sound good, I don't sound good. That link wasn't great. That link was very good. Obviously, explain it to yourself why. Be very aware and don't think, oh, I mean, if it was a great show, it was a great show. You're gonna feel it, and you'll be exhausted as well. By the way. But if it's not a good show, you should be very honest with yourself because someone else, like listeners, will be very honest with you, either by tuning out, complaining, it doesn't matter. And definitely anyone else that does listen to it will have a reality for you, a reality shock. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna just because I'm gonna split this up into two segments here. Because I can see we're running on nearly an hour here. And so I want to just end off with this because we just spoke about losing that listener again, and we'll continue with another video soon. Okay, so right, these are basic things. These are basic things that unfortunately we still hear at a third year level, and they must be eradicated immediately. You're going to use the word you. We don't do the plural. We heard it so much in the podcast. It was shocking. It was shocking that you must understand that you're talking to one person. It's not just it's a kind of rule. It's because the way that you speak and what you say and how you do it will change immediately in so many different ways. The way that if you talk to one person as opposed to saying, "Hey guys," or like, "Ladies and gentlemen," like that also makes no sense. No one listens with a double ear. Like I'm not sharing my ear with a friend sitting. You're addressing one person, right? Use you instead of I. So in other words, so make the stuff about them, as opposed to saying like, okay, look, like the example in the book is like, I've got some tickets to give away. That's not so bad, but I mean, it's not as good as saying, well, it's your chance to win some great tickets to. I don't know, Justin Bieber just announced that he's coming, so maybe Justin Bieber tickets. Avoid boring listeners. How do we bore listeners? We one don't give them any information that they care about. So when you are prepping, make sure that it is listener oriented, listener first, and also do not carry on a tangent just because you feel like talking and rubbish like that. That's going to come up now. Avoid, maintain current listeners. So we know the demographic. We know who our composite listener is. We've also talked to you about that as well. Make sure that you focus on that and not want to say, well, I also want to go, like let's say my demographic or my target audience is 18 to 24. Why would I want to attract, let's say, anyone above 24, for example, or above 30? The more you do that, the more you'll actually lose your core audience. So you want to just get more 18 to 24-year-olds. So stick to your demographic and exactly what your format exactly and all that, what they enjoy, right? Okay, so avoid manufactured topics. So in other words, when you don't have something to say, just play music because the music is already tested. It's been playlisted. It's been rotated in exactly the way that listeners would love to listen to. Okay, and do already enjoy. So, what's in it for me? I'm saying to the listener. So is it entertaining? Is it interesting? Is it conversational? Is it lifting their spirits in any way? Right? Are you empowering them? Right? Is it educational? And is it shareable? So, in other words, okay, like I listed something cool, I will go and I will share that with a friend of mine or whoever it is, right? Okay, what listeners want. So it's all about, again, the whole thing, the concept of understanding their lifestyle, that particular target audience, what they're worried about, what they're doing every day, what they talk about, what they're looking forward to, what makes them laugh, and what things that they really want to talk about, right? Speaking visually, because remember, we are a theater of the mind. We're going to talk about that also again a little later. Topic selection, is it part of their health, their heart, or their wallet? You know, and err on the side of brevity. In other words, keep it simple, stupid. Right. I know there's another word instead of the stupid, but I can't remember that one. But it is keep it simple, stupid. Inspire your listener through empowerment. Okay. I don't I think not think I know. A lot of presenters assume this like kind of like godly form. They'll be like, okay, I want to, I'm going to change a listener's life because that's my like that's my job. And we say you need to change the listener's life, but not being godly about it. So you're not a savior. You're a communicator, right? So by empowering them with again all these things we just mentioned now is how you do that, right? And how you remember that. I always say this. All my students know this, but you're a conduit of information. What is a conduit? Like for example, any line in your house that is a conduit for electricity. That's what I mean. You're a conduit for information. There's a whole world, right, of information, and you are one that's bringing it. Here's the little electric line. Do you understand? You're a conduit and you're bringing it to the listener at the end. And we will definitely uh, make sure that you get to know Snoops very well, so that you understand to Snoop yourself is very important for not losing a listener. Okay, we'll see you in part two. Cheers. Let me just stop recording there. How do I do that? Oh, that's all right. I want to leave this part in, right? Cheers.